This story takes place during the aftermath of World War II, when the Soviet Union took German soldiers as prisoners of war. The movie begins in a remote Siberian prison camp, surrounded by desolation and unyielding snow. The prisoners, all German soldiers, are forced into hard labor under brutal conditions. The war has ended, but for these men, a new battle has begun, a battle for survival. Among the prisoners is Clemens Forel, sentenced to 25 years in the camp. The harsh reality of his sentence looms over him, 25 years of grueling labor in the Siberian cold. Clemens, however, has only one thought in his mind: to escape and reunite with his wife and daughter in Germany. The camp's security isn't particularly tight. The guards know that escaping into the Siberian wilderness is almost certain death, with freezing temperatures and endless snow acting as natural barriers. Despite the danger, Clemens is determined to escape. One night he seizes an opportunity and hides inside a coal cart, hoping it will carry him far away. As the cart rolls through the dark wilderness, Clemens looks up at the night sky, marveling at the stars, symbols of the freedom he craves. But his escape is short-lived. The cart comes to an abrupt stop, and when Clemens peers out, a Soviet officer catches him. He is dragged back to the camp, beaten, and thrown into a freezing punishment cell, where rainwater seeps through the cracks, soaking him to the bone. For 3 days, Clemens endures the cold and hunger, surviving on sheer willpower. When he is finally released, he returns to the barracks. But his fellow prisoners, angry that they were denied food because of his escape attempt, attack him mercilessly. Beaten and bloodied, Clemens collapses. A fellow prisoner, a doctor, steps in to tend to his wounds. Clemens confides in the doctor about his desperation to escape and see his family again. The doctor warns him of the dangers. Escaping this place means facing death in the cold. But staying here is no better. The lead they force us to mine seeps into our bodies, causing a slow and painful death. I'm already dying from it. The doctor, moved by Clemens' determination, decides to help. He gives Clemens his warm clothes and reveals that he has hidden food supplies along the railway line for his own escape attempt. He also gives Clemens a gun and his shoes, knowing he won't survive much longer. The doctor's final request is heart-wrenching. If you make it out, find my family and tell them I didn't make it. Give them this lunchbox. It's all I have left to remind them of me. On the night of a snowstorm, Clemens makes his second escape attempt. By morning, the guards discover he is gone. The camp warden, Verdun, furious at Clemens's defiance, interrogates the prisoners. When he finds the doctor dead, his anger grows. Verdun orders his men to search for Clemens, but the harsh Siberian wilderness convinces most that Clemens is already dead. Meanwhile, Clemens trudges through the snowstorm, battling exhaustion, hunger, and the biting cold. Days pass and his rations run out. On the 9th day, he collapses, dreaming of a sled team chasing him through the snow. Jolted awake, Clemens realizes it was only a nightmare. He is starving and desperate. Spotting a seal in the distance, Clemens takes aim with his gun. He misses at first, but his final bullet hits its mark. For the first time in days, Clemens eats, restoring some of his strength. After resting, he resumes his journey, guided by a compass and his sheer will to survive. Months pass. Clemens talks to himself to keep his mind sharp and fights to push forward. One day, after walking for 2 months, he sees a dry tree, a sign that he is nearing the edge of the Arctic ice. Relief washes over him as he realizes he might actually survive. Back at the camp, Verdun remains obsessed with capturing Clemens. He orders his men to extend their search, convinced that Clemens is still alive. Clemens, however, has reached a forest of dry trees, a stark contrast to the icy wasteland he left behind. His journey is far from over, but for the first time, there is hope. After emerging from the Arctic ice, Clemens finds himself in a forest of dry, brittle trees. The scene shifts to the warden back at the prison camp. Determined to find Clemens, the warden orders his soldiers, "Search within a 500-kilometer radius. I'm certain he's still alive." Meanwhile, Clemens struggles forward, but a sudden snowstorm begins to topple trees. As the storm intensifies, a tree crashes down on Clemens. Just when it seems he's trapped, 2 prospectors searching for gold arrive and free him. Together they make their way to a nearby lake where the ice has melted and the rivers flow freely once more. The trio constructs a wooden raft to cross the lake. As they navigate the river, the current strengthens. One of the men falls into the rushing water. Without hesitation, Clemens jumps in to save him, risking his own life. After a grueling struggle, he manages to pull the man to shore. However, their other companion selfishly continues down the river alone, taking the raft with him. The lone man eventually reaches a spot where he had hidden gold and begins collecting the small pieces. Greed overtakes him as he convinces himself Clemens and the other man are dead, making the gold all his. However, Clemens and the man whose life he saved catch up with him. Realizing his betrayal, the saved man confronts him and, in a fit of rage, shoots him. Clemens and the survivor decide to continue their journey together. As months pass, the two men face increasingly harsh conditions. Snow returns, making their journey even more treacherous. At one point, Clemens offers to carry his companion's bag, seeing that he's exhausted, but suspicion and greed consume the man, who believes Clemens wants to steal his gold. He attacks Clemens, causing him to fall down a steep incline. Unconscious for hours, Clemens awakens to the sound of wolves circling him. He scrambles up a nearby tree, but the wolves claw at its base, threatening to topple it. The thin tree eventually snaps, and just as the wolves close in, gunshots ring out. Local villagers arrive, killing the wolves and saving Clemens' life. Clemens wakes up in the village, grateful to be alive. The villagers offer him shelter and food, but his relief is short-lived. A Soviet soldier arrives in the area with a message. A German soldier has escaped from our camp. Anyone helping him will be executed. The villagers warn Clemens that he must leave immediately for his safety and theirs. They provide him with supplies and a loyal dog to accompany him on his journey. For the next year, Clemens and his dog travel together, enduring endless hardships. One day, they come across a mill where workers are toiling. Clemens' dog runs toward the workers and Clemens follows to retrieve him. The workers recognize Clemens and, moved by his story, take him to their employer. The mill owner listens to Clemens' harrowing tale and takes pity on him. He offers to help by arranging for Clemens to board a train heading west. Grateful for the assistance, Clemens begins his journey toward West Germany, filled with hope that he will finally reunite with his family. However, at a station along the way, Clemens notices Soviet soldiers. Realizing the mill owner betrayed him by alerting the warden, Clemens quickly gets off the train with his dog. The soldiers spot him and give chase. Clemens runs as fast as he can, but the warden himself appears, blocking his path. As the warden closes in, Clemens' dog bravely attacks him, giving Clemens the opportunity to escape. Heartbroken, Clemens hears gunfire and realizes his loyal companion has been killed. Though devastated, he knows he cannot stop. He runs, evading the soldiers. Reaching a bridge, Clemens spots a train passing below. With no other option, he jumps onto the moving train, narrowly escaping once again. The train carries him far from his pursuers, but his journey is far from over. After months of travel, Clemens reaches a bustling fair filled with food stalls offering delicious meals. But he has no money and is too weak to beg. He eventually arrives at a bustling fair filled with delicious food stalls but has no money to buy anything. He notices two young girls selling pancakes. Though tempted, he starts to walk away, defeated. As he leaves, one of the girls notices his weary state and takes pity on him. She hands a piece of pancake to a small child and whispers to him, "Give this to that man." The child runs to Clemens and hands him the food. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Clemens savors the small meal, his spirits lifted by the act of kindness. Unbeknownst to Clemens, a Polish man in the crowd becomes suspicious of him and quietly begins following him. Clemens finds a nearby church and enters, kneeling to pray. The Polish man approaches him and whispers, "You don't need to worry. I was once in your position. I'll help you." The man takes Clemens to his home, where he offers him food, shelter, and a chance to clean up. For the first time in years, Clemens shaves and sees his true reflection in the mirror, a man transformed by years of struggle. The Polish man crafts a fake passport for Clemens and tells him, "With this, you can cross the border and finally go home." Clemens, deeply emotional, thanks the man and sets out for the Iranian border. When he presents the passport, the guards allow him to cross. A wave of relief washes over him as he realizes he's finally on his way back to his family. Crossing a bridge, he feels hope reignite within him, but his joy is short-lived. Standing on the other side of the bridge is the warden. Clemens looks back and realizes with dread that he is still on Soviet soil. His heart sinks as he believes all his efforts over the past 7 years have been in vain. The warden stares at Clemens, seemingly triumphant. Clemens, devastated, prepares to be arrested, but then to his astonishment the warden steps aside, clearing his path. Clemens hesitates, unsure of what's happening, but the warden does not stop him. The warden's face softens and he says, "7 years ago I vowed to find you, and today I have. but I've also seen your determination, your resilience. You've earned your freedom." Clemens, still in disbelief, cautiously walks past the warden. The warden watches him go, knowing that while Clemens may have won his freedom, he too has won by finally fulfilling his vow. Clemens continues his journey and finally reaches West Germany. It's Christmas Day, and he sees his wife and daughter leaving their home, heading for church. Overcome with emotion, he quietly follows them. At the church, his daughter notices him standing at the entrance. She freezes, her eyes widening in recognition. "Daddy?" she whispers before running to him. Clemens embraces her tightly as his wife joins them, tears streaming down her face. After 7 long years, Clemens has finally reunited with his family. The camera lingers on the scene as the church bells ring, symbolizing hope, redemption, and the unbreakable bonds of love. And so, Clemens's extraordinary journey comes to an end, proving that even in the darkest moments, perseverance can lead to a brighter tomorrow.